Now all you guys on video can hear me. Yep, I forgot to turn my mic on. It's on. Paul Killamere, your city, your voice, 4680Q. You're probably getting used to it by now because I always forget something, right? There's so many things to keep track of here with the radio, with the video, with the topics we're going to talk about and everything else. But we're rocking and rolling here on 4680Q. So, what do we have today? Well, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, but we're going to start out with City Council, and we're going to get to that in a minute. And I've got a lot to say. And yeah, not everybody's going to agree with me. That's the way it goes, and it doesn't bother me. But there is a lot to say, and we got to get this city straightened out, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, we got to straighten this city out. This isn't a joke. These are our tax dollars they're playing with. And it's amazing to see what's going on. And then, we got two fronts to fight. We got actually four, but two here anyway, the region in Niagara and the City Council of Niagara Falls. That's what we're fighting. We're not fighting each other. It's not you against me. It's us against them. And they're not working for us, even though we pay their way. They're not working for us. They definitely aren't not working for us. That's for sure. We'll get into it. First, my sponsors, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop and Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. Now, we're getting into the dog days of summer. The X is going to start. It's going to finish. We're getting to Labor Day. You've got a couple weeks, and you can go on vacation with your kids before they head off back to school. So what do you want to do? You want to make sure your car is running great. And in a month from now, in a month and a half, I'm going to tell you to go and get it checked out for winter because you don't want to be stuck with the first snowstorm and not being running right. But for now, you want to make sure your oil's changed, your brakes are good, everything's safe, everything's running good on your car, because if it's not, well, that's not good. You want to be safe. You want your car running right. You want to be proactive. That's why you go to see Ken Hunter at Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. He has all the latest diagnostic equipment to look at your car, find out what's wrong, repair it, and get you back on the road, safe and sound to the end of summer. And then we got to deal with some other weather coming up in the fall. But for now, we got to make sure it's running good for summer. Your air conditioning's working, your coolant system's all charged up, everything's good in your car. Now, if you get in a wreck, it's got a body shop. You take your car in there, you can get it all fixed up, shiny and new, showroom condition out the door. You're going to be happy. Your car's going to be happy. I'm going to be happy. Ken's going to be happy. Everybody's going to be happy. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Oakwood Drive, next to the Kia dealership. How can you go wrong? Tell them Paul from your city, your voice sent you. So, like I said, we're back in the dog days of summer. It's been hot the last couple days. Thank goodness we're back in the 80s. But you know what? You can feel it at night. It gets chilly. You wake up in the morning, it's 64 degrees. It warms up by noon. It's hot out there right now. Beautiful days. But at night, you can feel the chill in the air, and you know it's not far off. We're looking to enjoy it while you can. Yeah. Fall or the summer is like an Easter cream egg. It's here for a while, but then it disappears. It's not there for long. So you want to make sure you enjoy it and get rambling and go do things, go places, enjoy yourself while we still have the weather to do it. Now, just a public service announcement. If you're walking around Morrison Street between Stanley Avenue and Victoria, don't take another route. It's crazy. The Morrison Street's torn up. They're paving it, and they're fixing it all up, which is going to be beautiful when it's done. But it's probably going to take a few more days, and you want to make sure that you don't get caught up in flagmen and traffic and dirt and dust and planing and everything else with your car. Just go around. You got all the main arteries. You got Huron Street. You got Maple Street. You got Bridge Street. You've got Valleyway, all to get you downtown to this end of the city if you have to come down here. So use the side streets in that for now and stay away from Morrison Street. The less interruptions they have, the faster they'll get it done. The faster we'll be driving on beautiful roads that won't knock your teeth out. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, believe me. Okay, so let's get to this city council meeting. And you're going to be noticing I'm going to be looking down and reading a lot of that because there's so much I wrote down. It's unbelievable. But let's start with this meeting on Tuesday. This was a slobber knocker of a meeting, a 10-hour behemoth with a 3-hour in-camera session. Now, I didn't time them exactly, so if anybody's going to call in or well, you can't call in, but if anybody's going to say anything, yeah, it might be 2.5 hours. I don't know. It was a long time. I switched it off when they went in camera because I knew they weren't going to be back for a while. There's a lot of stuff going on. But I mean, it's totally ridiculous, a 10-hour meeting. It's got to be brought back under control. This is ridiculous on many, many levels. And if this is going to stay the way it is, if the Capitosta Big Show don't want to change things to a 2-day meeting, separating out the different factions, then it doesn't work. It doesn't work. By the end of the 4 or 5 hours, council members are tired. They don't want to be there anymore. They've had it. They're dealing with intricate items, intricate planning matters. They've got a lot of speakers, a lot of people talking. These are things that are very, very tiring. So you can't keep people there 10 hours. I mean, they started at 1 o'clock and they ended at 11. Imagine if they would have had their regular start at 4 o'clock. It would have been 3 in the morning. You can't do that to these people. They're not effective. And you can't do it to the taxpayers because they tune out. They're not watching this for 10 hours. They tune out. So you can't do it. It's out of control. And nobody, not the taxpayers or the councils, want to see this. Believe me, they shouldn't have to go through it. I mean, taxpayers are watching, trying to understand where council spends their money in that. If they don't watch, it's not good. We want people involved, and people. This just makes people walk away. Maybe that's the goal of Jim Diodati, to make people walk away from these meetings and not get involved, so they can just do what they want. I don't know, but they should run them 4 or 5 hours. That's it. This thing should have been over by 5, and if there's more to do, 5 more hours, then you come back the next day and do it. Or maybe just up the meeting schedule to once a week. Once every week they have a meeting and they deal with everything. It'll shorten the schedule. Oh, staff is going. Well, you know what? Staff gets paid to do their job. Do your job. Don't care about staff. They get paid well for doing what they do. Who cares if they got to prepare one every week? It's going to be less work because there's going to be less stuff on the agenda. Give me that stuff. Staff this. Staff. No, I'm already getting wound up. And you got people in the gallery waiting to speak. You think they're not frustrated sitting there 5 or 6 hours to speak to whatever? Then these guys go off for beer, pizza, and wings and come back 3 hours later? Come on. We're better than that. The city's better than that. It's a real shite show. And like I say, the mayor's oblivious to running 10-hour meetings. He keeps doing it. Mike Strange stood up and said, we got to shorten these meetings. We got to find ways. I never heard back from him. But, I mean, if council had any balls, they would just stand up after 5 hours and call it a day. Say, that's it, Jim. We're out of here. You want to make the decisions? Go ahead. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock to finish this off because we're done. But nah, they just sit there, falling asleep, tired, making bad decisions on our behalf. I mean, we should demand it. We should demand it, not the counselors. We should demand it. I mean, they're not awake. They're not effective. We want them at the top of their game when they're making decisions with our money and with our city. We do not want them spending $170 million of our tax dollars half asleep. That's the way it is. Now, I have to give accolades to the counselors, especially when it comes to the preliminary budget numbers. But first, let's talk about the mayor. Because I'm starting to get tired of this guy. And when I talk to a lot of people, they're all starting to get tired of this guy and his act. The budget is Mayor Jim's baby. If you remember the strong mayor powers that were given to these mayors, the mayor was tasked to deliver the budget. What that means is that what you see is the mayor's. It's Mayor Jim's doing. The mayor's supposed to sit down with the CAO, CFO, and anyone else that needs to be involved in the budget and come up with a final direction for them. His decision should be based on his will and the will of the people. Now it's brought before council where they hand down the final vote as to yea or nay to the budget. So We saw that. He came in 4 to 6% increase. And kudos to the counselors, Peter Angelo. And I'm not going to use nicknames on this. It's too serious business to be fooling around nicknames. Counselor Peter Angelo, Counselor Newestig, and Counselor Lococo stood up and talked to this budget. I think Lori Lococo voted against it because she doesn't like the whole procedure. They talked about starting at a zero-based budget and going from there. And I think they should demand a zero budget. And until somebody can prove that we don't have the money to bring in a zero budget, and don't give me the inflation stuff and everything else, I'll talk about that. But this is the mayor's. He's responsible for this. This is what he's supposed to do. As a matter of fact, he has so much power that if city council came back and said, we want a zero budget, he could actually veto it. Go figure that one out. They voted for a zero budget, told staff, we want zero. That's it. That's the final. He could veto it. And then they'd have to come back and he'd have to lobby and da-da-da-da-da-da until we decided exactly who's going to get what. There are parameters and there's so many days to launch these things and everything else. There's a set of rules that go along with strong mayor powers, but he has that power. So the responsibility of a 4 to 6% increase was Mayor Jim's. He's the one. Oh yeah, he can lay it off to the Penguin, and he can lay it off to Jason Burgess. I said I'm not going to use nicknames. To Jason Burgess, the CAO, or Tiffany Clark, the financial officer, or anybody else. But basically, he's the one who sat down and came up with these numbers as guided by these guys. He could have said zero. He could have went to them and said, I want a zero budget this year. That's it. We're not increasing this year. You find a way to make it work. But he didn't. 4 to 6% after a 4% increase last year, 7.9% increase in 2023. 3 years, 18%, our taxes are going up. If he gets his way. We'll see what it actually ends up being. Now, Councilors Peter Angelo, Newestig, and Lori Lococo, they opposed this increase. They opposed it. They said it was too much. And the mayor defended this inflation-fighting budget and fear-mongering using service cuts as weapons. That's what they always do. Well, there's 6%, and we gotta cut this and cut that, and that's the usual thing with him and Jason Burgess. They sit down and must agree on this. I mean, Jason Burgess was up there stuttering and stammering, and he brought this last chance for now. I don't know what the hell that presentation he had, where he's going to say where he's going to cut everything. Here's where we're going to do it if we want to get it down. You asked me to find $1 million. Here's where we're going to do it. And this dopey presentation, saving $5,000. We're going to save $5,000 by doing $170 million budget. He comes up with $5,000 on taking something away from kids or so. It's just so ridiculous. How can any citizens in this city sit there and look at this crap they're delivering to us and swallow it? It's ridiculous. The more I read this, the more I can. Oh boy. Oh, and of course, I feel bad for Jason Burgess in a way too, because anything he's tried to do to save money, like that $250,000 he could have saved of your taxpayer dollars by sending the firefighting dispatch over to St. Catharines, which would have had the same result, but saved you $250,000 of a $30 million police budget, was sent back. Council said no. They had 40 firefighters in the audience. They said no, we're keeping it here. We want to keep it here, even though it doesn't make any difference where it's dispatched from. We're living in 2024. This is in 1932. The technology here, you don't have to be there. You can see it virtually. You don't even have to be there. You can find houses. They got programs. It was a big no from city council. And it was just so Burgess just sat down and said, you know what? I told all you guys that I could cut $1 million. I could find $1 million, but you may not like the way I'm going to do it. And he was right. I'll give you $1 million right away. Last year we took 1.3 million from the hospital fund that we were supposed to give to the hospital, but we don't have to give money to it anymore. There's your $1 million right there. We don't have to spend it. That's like saving it. And you know what? The CFO, Tiffany Clark, promptly took it and put it in a reserve fund. So there's your tax dollars. There's your $1 million, Jason. There's your $1 million. Now I'll give you another one, $7.5 million for the transit. Don't have to pay that. Now you're up to 8.8 million, and you're worried about finding $1 million? Give me a break. These guys play games. They're just playing games. They're sleight of hand magicians, you know. Oops. And now you see it. Oh, now you don't. It's disappeared. I made it disappear. Watch it. Watch it. Oh, it's gone. Look at. Unbelievable. See this? See? Look at it. Here you go. Here's how it works. Here you go. Here. Watch this. Look, I got nothing. I made it disappear. Oh, my goodness. Now, one person mentioned the close to $70 million floating around. How about that? Not one person stood up. Not one counselor. Nobody else. Am I the only one that's aware of this? Or am I totally off my rocker and it doesn't exist? It's an imaginary thing. Because I'll tell you where I find 70 million. 40 to 50 million from the sale of Niagara Regional Broadband that we owned. And where did I come up with that number? Well, Niagara on the Lake owns 25% of it when we sold it. And you know what? They got a certain amount of money, 13 million. So the total was 42 million or something like that, or whatever they got. I figured it out before. So we sold it for at least that. At least that. Where's our money? Taxpayers have never received an actual number for that sale. And that was done in January. 6 months later, 7 months later, we don't know what the hell they sold it for. 13 million approximately, underestimation of casino revenue for the last 2 years. They underestimated the casino revenue in 2023, 24, and it adds up to about $13 million, approximately. And you're looking to find $1 million, and Jimmy wants to grab us for another 6% and $35 to park. 7.5 million savings from transit. We already talked about that. 1.3 million from the hospital fund we don't have to put in. Where's all this money? I added up 62 to 72 million. Where is it? Not one question, not one comment from any city councilor. Why? Am I the only one that wonders about this? Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Nobody mentions it. Nobody mentions $70 million. Remember that thing I had here in my hand, that sponge thing? That just disappeared. Red Bull gives you wings because it flew away. And this isn't the end. There's probably another 20 million spent this year over and above the capital budget approval last year. They approved the capital budget, but all of a sudden they got $20 million they're pulling to do this and do that. And where they get that from? Out of thin air. And my point is, why isn't this being used to give us a zero increase this year? When they say we need inflation, right from inflation, inflation's running at 3.9%. So if we give a zero, we're 4% behind already. Baloney. I call baloney. I call BS on that one. Don't listen to these guys. More excuses than Carter's got pills, my mother used to say. You got more excuses than Carter's got pills. I guess Carter made pills at one time. So during the meeting now, and like these guys, this city council, oh boy, they just drive me nuts. So Councillor Patel stands up, and I'm not using nicknames or else I'd call her something else, and gave a rousing speech blaming former councillors and former councils for doing a very bad job on the budget and putting them in the position they're in today. And that's why they're now cleaning up their mess, she says. Are you kidding me? She would raise our taxes 20%. You know that. She would raise it 20%. She's a wacko. If she had the power, if she was mayor, you never want to see her sitting in the mayor's seat. I'll tell you that right now. No friggin' way. Never. Hell, I don't even want her on council. She's a negative on the ledger, believe me. And oh yeah, she would raise it. She would raise it huge, and she'd blame past city councils. You know, what got what got, uh, what got me though? She stood up and gave this big speech blaming former city councilors. Well, I got a big news for you, flash for you there, Councilor Patel. Look around the table. Every single one of those counselors, just about, were on previous councils that made these decisions. So now you're calling them all stupid. You're calling them out for doing a bad job and forcing you, like your mayor or something, to take these drastic steps to get the money into the pot to do things because this city's falling apart. Yeah, it's your fault, Vic Peterangelo. Let's just name them. Former city councilors that were on these councils: Vic Peterangelo, Jim Diodati, Wayne Thompson, Wayne Campbell, Mike Strange, and Lori Lococo. Yeah, that's what you're talking about when you say past councils made a bunch of big mistakes. They didn't do their job, and they blah 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 blah. You're insulting every one of them. How arrogant are you to take your peers to task? Sit down and shut up. And you know what makes me even madder? Not one of these people got up and defended themselves. Not one of them. Not Vic Peterangelo, not Mike Strange, not Lori Lococo, not Wayne Thompson. Well, Wayne Thompson can't. Not Diodati, none of them. I mean, somebody could have stood up and said, listen, Mona, listen, Councilor Patel, they were different times. There were different times when we did this. You can't judge us today by what happened in the past. But man, I couldn't believe she stood up and did that. I mean, I just can't believe she did it, and I can't believe nobody stood up for themselves. No guts, no glory. I say appear because there's no problem. We have lots of money, as we discussed before. I mean, there's she is so far removed from reality that she just spouts off, and I doubt she even knows what she's saying. She's that big. She's that big of a. She's oblivious. She's oblivious. She's so that much out of touch. Such a bad counselor. I mean, this whole thing's a joke. 27% turnout gets you whatever you get. This council just cannot dig in their heels and tell staff what they want. They wavered between 3 and 7% and couldn't tell staff to come back with zero. Most of them are under the impression that zero is impossible. That's their way of thinking. They've been told. They've been fear-mongered into thinking this. Yet no, not one of them stood up and mentioned the 70 million floating around. And nobody took Jason Burgess to task and asked why this money can't be used in a zero, bringing it in zero, or even giving us a reduction. Nobody mentioned the NRBB sale. Where's that money? I mean, this is just ridiculous. And this just proves what I keep saying. You can't have these people on city council, all of them on the dole, teachers and this and that, and health inspectors and people who work for the government. It's just you need businessmen like Vince Cario, someone that's dealt with the $200 million budgets. They have to lead the way. Businessmen cannot depend on taxpayers to make their business a success and delete all debts by raising taxes. No, businessmen have to do it on their own. They have to be fiscally responsible. They have to tighten their belts at times. They have to know how to run a business and make it profitable. And I know Niagara Falls isn't supposed to be a for-profit business, but we do have revenue coming in. We do have grants coming in and that kind of thing, but we got to live within our means. Like any household or any budget, you live within your means. Businessmen make tough decisions. They keep their house in order. They have to, because if not, they're going to go broke. There's nobody to bail them out. Nobody's going to swoop in and say, well, we can just raise the rates on your rooms by 10% to make up the difference. No, because you're in competition with all the other businesses. Here, City Council has no competition. They want more money, they raise our taxes. Businesses have to live within their means. They're creative when they do things. They're very creative. They find ways to get things done with the money they have. And you know what? At the end of the day, if they don't have the money, they do without. That's just the way it is. And everything you see is because we have people on council who don't have a clue. It's not an insult to them. I'm not insulting city council. They're fine people trying to do a job. They're just in over their heads. They're just unable to do it. And that's not a poke at them. That's not an insult to them. Mike Strange is a real estate guy. He's the next champion. He's good at that. He may not be good at the budget. Victor Peterangelo is a teacher. He's good at what he does. Everybody is good at what they did, or do. But this might not be their realm to be able to deal with this. And staff are going to just, forget about staff. They're just going to ask for the world. Wants and needs, wants and needs. We heard that last night. Wants and needs. I've been saying it for 2 years, wants and needs. Now we're starting to hear it, but it's good that some counselors are standing up and being heard, and more of them should. They should be outraged at this. Outraged. They were citizens at one time before they got on city council, and they were outraged. Why is it when they sit on city council, they're not outraged anymore? I don't get it. And staff is no better. They don't give a damn. They're not elected. They say they're going to go with council's wishes, but when you use fear mongering to sway council, oh, we can do that, but we're going to have to close pools. Let me ask a question to everybody here. Please, somebody answer me this. Who in the hell guaranteed residents they would have pickleball courts, tennis courts, walking paths, cricket fields, baseball parks, skateboard parks, BMX bicycle parks, dog walking parks, ghetto domes, splash pools, $100,000 playground equipment, free ice time, or any other amenity? All free, free, free. Who guaranteed it? This isn't a right built into the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that we have swimming pools and all this. Where do they get the idea that they have the right to this stuff? They don't. These perks are for when times are good. Yes, when times are good, they can have more amenities. That's what they were made for in the heady days of the 60s and 70s, where everybody was working, everybody's paying taxes, there's lots of money floating around. But we're not living in the 60s, 70s, and 80s anymore. And they're not free, as we're finding out. So when times get bad, these amenities aren't available. They're not guaranteed. There's no guarantee we have to have swimming pools or anything. They're perks. The guarantees come in when you want to have a clean city and good roads and that kind of thing. That's infrastructure. We need that. We need guarantees that we have sewers and water and clean water and that kind of thing. But there's no guarantee for $12 million trails. Who the hell guaranteed that to these people, to everybody? But yet they think it is. They don't take city council to task, and then they use them as a leverage and threats when we say you got to tighten your belt, you got to be fiscally responsible. You have to live within your means. We can't afford our houses, can't afford our utilities, we can't afford food. We drive 20-year-old cars because we can't afford a new one. And government's the reason for that. And you know what? Nothing's guaranteed in life. Nothing's guaranteed. These amenities are there when times are good. But when times aren't good, like now, hey, they're off the table. And city council should quit using them as leverage and fear mongering, forcing us to pay more taxes. And by the way, when did it become illegal to ask people to pay for the amenities they want? The Badminton and Tennis Club on Wilma Street has been operating as a private club for years. I don't see them in the capital or operating budget. Their members pay. It's not free. White Oaks is another local club. The members pay. It's not free. When we were kids, we walked on sidewalks or roads, not on $20 million walking paths. And by the way, we have 32 miles of walking paths on the Niagara Parkway, some of the most beautiful walking paths in the world, overlooking some of the most beautiful vistas in the world. Do we really need 20 or 30 million more walking paths? Does that make sense to you? I mean, the days of wine and roses are over. People can't afford to keep their homes, and we're building another $12 million walking path. Look around City Council. These fools are blowing your money on pickleball, cricket, walking paths, ghetto domes, batting cages, swimming pools, lifestyles of the rich and famous while you can't pay your hydro bill. Does that make sense to you? 17 million on arts and cultural. A white elephant called the exchange to impress others while you can't buy groceries to feed your family. Does that make sense to you? The fire department getting a shiny new $3 million truck while you can't buy gas to put in your 12-year-old car. Does that make sense to you? Because it's your money paying for it. Are these the things that you want? Or would you rather have the things you need? Like housing, like food, like hydro, like water, like gas to cook on. Seriously, folks, would you rather pay your rent or play pickleball? We have to get our priorities in order, especially when times are tough. And that's what we're in, tough times. Governments cause inflation, they're killing us. While homeless roam the streets, while immigrants live in luxury hotels, while food banks cannot keep up with the need, the city is contemplating another $12 million walking path. Does that make sense to you? I'm beside myself. I don't know what we can do. This council's got to go. All of them, save Councilor Coco. We have to start over. We need a new leader. This city is way worse off since the Big Show took over 12 years ago. And I said, I'm not going to use nicknames. Since Jim Mayor Diodati took over 12 years ago. Prove me wrong. Look around. You don't have to be a genius to see this. It's self-evident. Look around the city. Is it better off now than it was 12 years ago? Or even 8 years ago? No, it's not. And, am I being too rough on this council? Well, look at your taxes. Up 13% over the last 2 years, soon to be maybe 18% over the last 3 years. And that's not including regional raises, the cost of utilities, the cost of food, the cost of rent, the cost of everything, cost of gas. Personally, I've had enough. We pay for their incompetence. All of us pay for their incompetence. We're going to keep on paying if we, the people, don't find a way to put an end to this. And the way to put an end to this is at the polling stations in 2 years. We got to wait 2 years, unfortunately. Okay, that's it. I'm done. You don't agree? Well, good for you. You don't agree with me? Fine. I don't care. You enjoy paying only $8 a month more. Remember that? What's only $8 a month more? Good for you. But like my buddy Ralph Panucci said, the city doesn't have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. Ralph, amen to that. And that's it for that. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm done with it. I'm done with it for now. For now. This isn't going to end. This isn't going to end. Somebody has to talk up. Somebody has to speak up. And if our counselors aren't going to, I'm going to. And there's other people in this city who will. And they're going to be in here. And they're going to be talking about it. We're done. We're done. My second sponsor, Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. Now, if you've ever seen these houses that are beautifully lit up, you're going to say, where did they get these lights? It must have cost a fortune. Well, it didn't cost a fortune. And they got them from Hamilton Glowstone Lighting, the leader in permanent outdoor lighting. That's right. They come into your house. They can, well, not into it, outside your house. They come to your house. They put up these track lighting you don't even see in the daytime. At night, though, they shine. They shine. Then they build the track lighting in zones. So you can be red in this zone, white in that zone, red in this zone, white in that zone, which means that you can decorate your house for Canada Day, red and white, Canadian flag colors, or red and green for Christmas, or green for St. Patrick's Day, orange for Halloween, purple for Prince. We love Prince. His purple majesty, his purpleness. So if you want outdoor lighting permanent, that is soldered. I mean, these joints are soldered. They're impervious to dust. They're impervious to moisture. A lifetime warranty. That's how confident they are on their product. Then you got to call Hamilton Glowstone Lighting. You got to get them to come in, and everything's controlled by your phone. Nice and easy peasy. A nice app wherever you are. It's a beautiful thing. And you know who runs this place? Colin Buckborough. I went to high school with his dad, Lee Buckborough. Maybe some of you did. Great people. He runs the business, and he will come to your house, give you a free quote, and put them up if you want them. How do you get a hold of them? Well, you call him at 289-969-1797. That's 289-969-1797. He's going to come over, give you a quote, and away you go. Now, if you want to Griswold your house, I mean, you really want to do it up nice, they offer financing, so you don't have to worry about plopping down a big wad of money. If you don't have enough fazools, finance some of it. It's the best way. And you know what? They add value to your house, and they light up your pathways. They make it safer. They're just a fantastic product. Tell them Paul from Your City, Your Voice sent you. And if you want to see some of their work, just go to glowstonelighting.com, glowstonelighting.com, and you can see some of their work. Give them a call. Tell them Paul sent you. They're going to be happy, and I'm going to be happy. And I like when people support our sponsors. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, so I can't get off city council. It's just too much here. Too much. So, City of Niagara Falls wants to hear from residents about parks and trails funding. You want to hear from me? Here's how much I give to that: 0. Fix my road. But there are people who want to have it. So, if anybody, I don't know if anybody's looked at this survey, there's like $350,000 out of 170 million. They're giving you 350 of your own money. You get to spend your own money. How about that? To enhance park and trails, whoop-de-doo, $170 million budget. They're letting you have a say in $350,000. Isn't that nice? That is pandering. Oh yeah, we're gonna give you this chance here. $350,000, $170 million. Where do you want to spend it? Is anybody fooled by this? I don't. So really, folks, they're spending $500,000 on a pickleball court, the same on the Ghetto Dome. Who are they going to scare with $350,000? Unbelievable. They think people are dumb enough to fall for this old trick? Asking for your input scheme? Are we dumb enough to fall for this? Like they actually care? Well, you know what? Here's my suggestion for the $350,000. Go down to Ronnie and Donnie's Ice Cream down here on Queen Street. That would buy $350,000, about 50,000 ice cream cones. Who doesn't want ice cream? Everybody wants an ice cream cone. Maybe just stick a free street parking pass in everybody's tax bill. That would be like 10,000 passes if they did $350,000 worth. So residents can park free on city streets. How about that? I'd rather see the $350,000 do that. Give me an ice cream cone or two. Let me park for free for a year. Seriously, they're going to spend $12 million on the new AT&T or whatever it's called, NTNSST&T railway line trail, the new trail, and they're offering us $350,000 of our own money to please us. Stop it! Don't insult us. Stop it! Down to Niagara Lake, and this is a harbinger of things to come. Niagara Lake wants a 10% wastewater hike and a 3% water rate hike. How about that? This means a 50% increase on their water bills next year. And they thought they would just get an inflationary increase in their taxes. Well, maybe they did, but you know what? Your water and wastewater bill is a tax. Yeah, it's a tax. They might not call it that, and they separated it from your property taxes, but it's a tax. And when it goes up, your taxes go up, basically. Why am I tapping my pen on the desk? And get this, the suggestion is that it continue to rise at the same rate for the next decade. Yeah, for 10 years. Isn't that a kick in the family jewels? We will be basically looking at a small increase for Niagara Falls. Yeah, that is on top of whatever else council decides to raise our property taxes. If there is one. I don't know if we have a raise. Good thing to say, but I don't know. There's one good thing to say about a raise on those taxes, whatever it is a year, $50, $100, it doesn't matter. It all adds up to a huge number at the end of the day. One good thing I have to say about that is I would rather have clean drinking water than a pickleball court. If I have to pay a bit more for clean drinking water, more for sewers, so be it. I'd rather have that than pickleball courts and ghetto domes and everything else. So I'm not crazy about it, but it is what it is, right? But they're going up, and I can tell you this right now: the region is going to take it up, and when they do that, it means we're going to take it up. Yeah, we're taking it all up a notch, up a notch, up a notch. Your wallet's getting thinner and thinner every time these guys open their mouth. I was reading an interesting article. How bad is the homeless situation in Ontario? Well, let's put it in perspective. California has 3 times the population as Ontario. Now, what do they got? They got more people in Southern California than Canada. Never mind Ontario. And has 54,000 less homeless. Now that's amazing. 3 times the population, and when they count their homeless, they have 54,000 less than Ontario, who only has 14 or 15 million people. They have like 35 million, third of it, and they have 54,000 less than Ontario. And that includes 75,000 people who live in 50 blocks of downtown LA called Skid Row. I mean, they're sobering numbers. LA, La La Land. Gavin Newsom running the show with Harris year before. I mean, and they're doing a better job than Ontario with 3 times the people. If that doesn't sober you up, nothing will. That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild. There's some pretty wild numbers. But we got problems in this province. We got problems in the city. We got problems in every city. It's just getting worse and worse all the time. It's getting worse and worse all the time. Not getting better. Do I have any good news today? No. Where do I find it? Somebody point me to some good news. I couldn't find any. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking for the bad news. Or maybe it's just bad news that we see all the time. Well, I'll give you a little bit of good news. JD Vance. He had an interview with Dana Bash from CNN and Face the Nation. And they were great interviews. He laid them down. He laid out a platform. He laid out what they're going to do. He was awesome. And I like that. This guy's right on top of his game. He's right there. He knows what he's talking about. And when they first got JD Vance, I go, who's this guy? I looked him up. Then I watched that Hillbilly Elegy. I don't know if anybody else has watched that. But after I finished watching it, it was produced by Ron Howard. I'm going, man, oh man, this is one dysfunctional family he grew up in. I mean, how can this guy his mind has to be ruined by his childhood and what he went through with his mother and everything else. It opens your eyes, man. And I'm thinking this guy's got to be screwed up mentally. He's got to be. I wasn't sure about him, but as I sit and listen to him talk, especially with these people who are against Trump, anti-Trumpers, TDS people, and how he handles things so seriously. And also he knows what he's talking about. He knows in his mind where he wants to go with Trump and what they want to do, whether it's the border, the economy, fiscal responsibility, making America great again, the MAGA movement, where he wants to go and how they're going to do it is clear. They have a clear path. They know what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, as opposed to Harris and Waltz, Kamala Waltz, which is a dance that looks like Elaine dancing on Seinfeld. It's just all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. There's no platform. There's no issues. They don't know what they're going to do. She's flip flopping on everything, using everything Trump's saying, not taxing tips and closing the border, stuff that she could have done over the last 3.5, 4 years that she was vice president, and things that they can even do now. They're still running the country. You wouldn't know it. And JD Vance took her to task. And Dana Bash said, well, like, she was vice president. She wasn't running the country. Well, Joe wasn't. We know that. So who was running the country? And Dana Bash was stopped in her tracks. She couldn't answer that. So, I mean, this guy's got it together. That's some good news. That's some good news. And why? Why do we care in Canada? Because everything that happens in Canada depends on the U.S. We need the U.S. healthy, strong, and thriving, because it spills over the border to Canada being healthy, strong, and thriving. The way the world is right now, it's a big mess. It's a huge mess. And now the last 4 years have put it there. So to see JD Vance, I'm getting more and more happy with this guy as I see him take news conference after news conference, going to every state. It's a beautiful thing, and his opponent is going nowhere, not taking news conferences, not doing anything. And I saw a thing today, they're having big protests, the Palestinians, big protests in the States. They invaded a restaurant in New York City where there's some Democrat bigwigs and just took it over and going crazy. And we got on August 19th, today's the 15th, Thursday is the 16th, do the math, 19th is on Monday, I believe. I think the Monday is the 19th, and that's when the Democratic National Convention starts in Chicago. And these people are all going there. It's going to be a dangerous place to be once this thing starts. They've called in the National Guard. They've called in the police. They've called in state troopers. Any asset they can get there to protect the people is going to be there. This is going to be bad. 1968 all over again. So, JD Vance, good news. What's going to happen on Monday may not be really good news. Not to mention that Iran is any day threatening to blast the hell out of Israel. And today is 15th, which is the day they were going to do it by. They're expecting to do it. When I get home, I'll be turning on the TV, that's for sure. And my last thing I'm going to talk about today is here we go again. Never let a virus go by without taking advantage of it. The WHO, World Health Organization, those crooked sons of beaches that destroyed our lives with COVID are not letting a virus go to waste. They're at it again, declaring a monkeypox outbreak in Africa. They're calling it a global health emergency. No problem. Is this a big deal? Close down the border to anyone from Africa immediately. No in, no out. Easy peasy. That's what they should be doing right now, not when it gets here and starts spreading. If this is a true disease and they're serious about it, close down the border right now. Close it down. They can't come in. No flights from Africa. No people from Africa. You want to go to Africa, you're not coming back. That's the bottom line. Let's get it over with. And of course, in Africa, there's no vaccines available to stop it. They're just waiting to lay down this $1 trillion scheme in North America and inject everyone they can. Here we go again. And after the reaction to COVID from everybody, just lining up at the at the injection centers, getting us an experimental whatever that didn't work anyway. After all that, they know people are going to line up again. I mean, they pull this all the time. There's too many diseases to count. What do we got? Swine flu, monkeypox, COVID, bird flu, H1N1, Ebola. You name it, whatever they make up and they can make money at, they push and push on us unsuspecting fools. That's us, by the way. Well, not me, but a lot of people. I mean, that's what they consider us. We're going to fall for this nonsense. That's why they do it. Now, letting people die in Africa is of no consequence to them. They don't care. North America is where the money is, and if they let enough people die in Africa to scare us, remember the people dropping dead in Wuhan? They had videos of people just walking down the street and just falling down dead on the street, just collapsing on the street from COVID. It never happened. It's all staged. Those warehouses full of people that were dead, never happened. All dummies and stuff. Those hospitals that were full to the brim, you couldn't get anybody else in. No, they weren't full. It was all a thing. Those 2 ships they set up, hospital ships, we're going to need them for people getting COVID. Never saw one patient. As a matter of fact, they sailed them out of there because they weren't being used. Burlington, Joseph Brand Hospital, they set up a tent, a big tent for people suffering from COVID. They couldn't house them. We're not going to be able to house. Never used it. Not one patient. They ended up using it to give them injections. That was the injection center. All baloney. Here we go again. Then we run for this made-up cure, and they're richer than they were before. See how it works? Follow the money. Stay tuned for this one. I mean, you got to stay tuned because they're going to pull this again. You know they are. They're going to pull it again. It's we're going to be dopey enough to fall for it. Who knows? I don't know, man. You just get tired of all this after a while. You know, it's never ending. It's never ending. And the more we let them get away with it, the more we capitulate, the more they do it. Facebook is the biggest thing you see. I mean, they run all this stuff like if you copy and paste this, you're going to do this. If you pour the water on your head, ice bucket challenge. They're just fugazi to see how many people will actually be dumb enough to follow it and do it. Not one dime went to Alzheimer's from that. Are you kidding me? No, it was all just to find out if people will follow along with other people like sheep. Oh, Joe's doing it. I have to do it. Joe challenged me. I have to do it. That's all it is. It's just a scheme to see if you're going to be dumb enough to follow along, and everybody does. They're all pouring buckets of ice water on their head. Yeah, anyway, I'm done. I'm done today. I'm done. I've had it. I'm done. I'm beat. Tomorrow, Peter Dichter's in, though. And when I say we won't drop this budget stuff, I'll guarantee we're going to talk about that and other things Peter wants to talk about. But, Peter doesn't pull any punches neither. He's going to sit here and tell you the way it is. Next Tuesday is a show to tune into. Mike Lucid is going to be back. He's the guy who was sitting here talking about the University of Niagara Falls. He's scheduled to come in next Tuesday at noon, Your City, Your Voice. And of course, the discussion is going to be surrounding the University of Niagara Falls. And he's gonna reveal some stuff that we haven't heard before. And it's going to be a good one. And after that city council meeting where they started discussing it, he was livid. There's a lot going on. Maybe a lot of underhand stuff. See what Mike has to say. He's coming in, and Mike doesn't pull any punches neither. And he's mad. He's had it. So it's going to be a good show. Tuesday at noon, Mike Lucid. We're going to talk about the University of Niagara Falls. And it's going to be a good one. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Watch it on YouTube. Watch the show on YouTube for you on the radio. If you can't get it or whatever, just go to YouTube. I'll post it on my page in a few other pages. You can watch the show today. Like it, subscribe. We need more people subscribing. We need as many people as we can to share this. And we have to get people informed in this city. We have to get them mad at what's going on. We have to get them out to vote. That's what it's all about. So if you can subscribe, if you can share it, if you can encourage your friends to subscribe, and if any of you have anything to say about this, if you want to come in and talk about it, if you have solutions, if you think you know a way to cure any of this stuff, please, 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 please come in. Come in, talk to me, sit down, have a chat, and we'll go through everything. We'll go through everything. We will. I'm inviting everybody and any politicians that happen to be listening in. Hey, you're welcome to come in here anytime, refute anything that I've said, correct me on it, and tell your side of the story if I've been wrong. Or maybe I'm right and you agree with me. I don't know. I don't know. But this is an open forum for you to come in here too. You don't have to agree with me to come in. You just have to understand that we can be better. We can be better as a city. We can be better as a city council. We can be better. But it isn't going to come from me because I'm behind the microphone. I have nothing to do with city council other than talking about it. It's going to come from our citizens. It's going to come from people like you who listen in. Have a great day, everybody. My name is Paul K. Lemire. We will talk to you tomorrow at noon with my buddy Peter Dichter in the house. Ciao, ciao.